Earning $100,000 as a gym owner, many people think it's impossible, but I'm here to tell you it's possible. And in fact, it's likely if you have the right help. You don't have to trust me. I brought back up. Her name is Natalie Winslow, and she is the owner of the gym at Tierra Verde. We're going to talk about six-figure income for gym owners. This is Run a Profitable Gym. I'm your host, Mike Warkentin. Do me a favor, hit like, hit subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. It really helps us out, and I appreciate it greatly. Natalie, are you ready to help people discover what's possible as a gym owner?
Yeah, let's do it.
I am fired up about this because, as I said to you before the show, our mentor team has said wonderful things about Natalie, and we're going to talk about those great things that she's accomplished. But first, I want to ask you this one. And I'll tell you, full disclosure for myself, my gym was losing $5,000 a month at one point. I was drowning. I needed help. I could not see the bright spot of anything. Every entrepreneur has had very tough times, myself included. Talk to me about a low point that you've had, and can you compare that to your life at present? Where have you been?
Yeah, so our gym is fairly new still. I mean, we've been open less than a year, right? Or actually a year. We celebrated our 1 year anniversary last month.
Congratulations,
and so
yeah.
This is my first stint into entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And so at the beginning of this, I really had no idea what I was doing, and didn't know where we were going to get the money from, and I didn't know any of that. So there was a point at time when we were ready to go. We had the build out going, and we had this plan to lease all the equipment. And then all of a sudden we couldn't lease the equipment. We didn't have the finances that the company needed to show. And so we were here with a full gym build out, a lease signed, and no equipment.
Oh, no. Oh, wow. That's stress.
So, yeah, to say the least. Yeah, so we had to kind of figure out how we were going to make that work. And we did. We dug deep and borrowed some money, and we got it figured out fairly quickly. But that was a really scary time. And now we have, this gym that's thriving, with all brand new equipment. And looking back now, that was a moment of freak out, but we're doing great.
So if I have this right, then you went from like about to open a gym that's just a hallway with no equipment whatsoever. You went from that to six-figure income in less than a year.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. How does that feel?
To describe, right? Because we jumped into this, and when I decided that I want to open a gym, I did not do it with an income expectation, and I thought, okay, I'm going to make a little bit of money. My husband's got a great job. This is going to be a passion project for me. This is going to be something fun. But I literally did not think that it was possible to make that kind of money with this. So
12 months later,
here we are.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And when did you start working with TrueBrain?
In the very begining.
Right at the very beginning. So before, no entrepreneurial experience, you decide, I'm going to get a mentor. I'm going to spin this thing up. You get some stress, you get past it, 100K.
Yeah. So I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. Right. And I'm not a coach. Mm-hmm. I'm not a personal trainer. So I didn't come into this with any kind of fitness experience or background. And so I knew I needed help from the very beginning. I knew I had a vision in mind, and I knew what I wanted to do, but to lay out the exact steps, like I didn't know what an SOP was. I had no idea. Right. And so we talked about this in January of 2023. And then I started working with TrueBrain in February of 2023.
Okay, that's amazing. I'm going to ask you some more questions about that, but this is as good a place as any to ask you for the 60-second summary of your gym. So let's bring listeners up to speed. What do you do? So you said like you're not a coach, you're an owner, which is a really cool thing because so many gym owners are coaches first. You came at it a different way. Talk to me about what your gym is, how much space, who do you serve, what do you got?
Yeah, so our facility is a 24/7 access facility. Okay. We have about 4,800 square feet. Mm-hmm. we have a lot of busy professionals. We have a lot of parents. We have a lot of retired individuals. Our community has a lot of retirees here. And so we wanted to build a community or build a gym that was not intimidating. There's, we knew being an access facility that we were going to draw a crowd of people who just want to come in and work out, right? That was kind of what I like to do. That's what my husband likes to do. But we don't want to be bothered by influencers and squat racks and that sort of thing. Not that there's anything wrong with that. That's just not,
that's
what
your
we
market.
wanted
I get
for
your market.
our facility, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we wanted somewhere that wasn't intimidating like some of those big box gyms where anybody could come in at any fitness level and feel very comfortable. They don't feel like anybody's watching them.
Mm-hmm.
They just want to come in and work out. And so we have, like I said, we have the 4,800 square feet. We have a lot of basic equipment, but we also have turf with functional fitness equipment. Great. We have spa racks, and we wanted to have a little bit for everyone. So it's not super crowded. There's tons of space for people to spread out. Most of the time there's never more than 15 people in the gym, which people love. People really like that it's quiet. It's not super busy. They can come in, get their workout done, and then head home.
Okay. Do you do any personal training or anything like that, or is it just access strictly?
Yeah, we do. We actually do. We have 2 personal trainers, and then we also do a group fitness class. But we only do 1 group fitness class in the mornings, and then we do have a stretch class too, like stretch and mobility. I failed to mention that we also do have a recovery room with infrared and sauna, and cold plunge, and so people really like that too.
Okay, so that is a cool summary. That's an interesting business model. And I'm really fascinated because, again, so many people that I've talked to, they're coaches first and they open a gym on the side. You came at it a different way, and this is very interesting. You also started with something I wish I had done, started working with a mentor right off the bat. If I had done that, I might be retired. I might be in Florida with you and dropping in at your gym on vacation. But I took a different path. That was a bit of a mistake, but you know how it goes. So let me ask you this. You started with a mentor. How did that relationship go? What was the plan to make things go exactly the way you wanted, step by step? I missed this opportunity. What happened when you had help and guidance?
Yeah. So from the very beginning, like I said, I didn't know how to open a business, what to do, how to run a business, what to do for financing when we did have questions about that. And working with my mentor helped me set up a solid plan of action. What needed to be done first? How do we develop this? We did hit some snags. So it took us about a year to get our doors open. And every step of the way, she was there to guide me. Even if it was it was a slow month, she's like, okay, what are you working on for your SOPs? What do you got plans for the future after you open the doors? What is your annual plan look like? Things that I never would have thought about before. She helped, like I said, create just a solid plan so that I felt confident every step of the way.
Do you feel like there were any large mistakes that you would have made without a mentor's help? Because there were so many things that I did wrong that I wish someone had said, whoa, not that way, Mike. Anything like that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, no doubt. Like I said, I jumped into this not knowing what I was doing, and yeah, absolutely. There would have been lots of mistakes as far as software goes, and making sure that I had a plan when it was time to bring on new employees, make sure that everything was, ready to go for them. And then also, as far as even just opening a business, what to do with, taxes or, making sure you have that stuff set up with the city and the county and all of that stuff. Some things that I may have overlooked, they were helpful in reminding me and guiding me to do those things.
Did you run a founders club by chance?
I did.
Ooh, how did that go? And listeners, this is a very cool thing that we help gyms do when they're open with members on day one. How did this go for you?
Yeah, so that was huge because there was a lot of excitement in the community about us opening a gym. Um, but without running that Founders Club, we wouldn't have had any money coming in the door until we opened, right? And we're already paying bills at that point.
Yep.
And so with the Founders Club, we started with about 45 members.
Ooh, that's great.
Yeah, I was surprised by how many people were jumped on board with that. We did 3 different tiers of membership with the Founders Club, and we still have, I would say, 75% of those people are still members here.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Do you want to know who the first person who came through my door the second it was unlocked when I opened my gym? It was the city tax collector. I'm not even making that up. The door is unlocked and it was just like, hello, and here's your tax bill. And I'm like, we have no members, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was the worst, right? And I was just like, I'm looking at this giant bill I didn't expect because I didn't know about these things either. And I look around, vacant gym, nobody's here. And I was in trouble, right? And so you went the other way with the Founders Club where and this is guys, listeners, this is a plan. It's laid out step by step. You do these things and you acquire these members and you hit the ground running with people on day one. They're already paying and you don't have that stress. And you might even be breaking even or profiting at that point. I can't remember what our record is for a Founders Club open, but I think it's like 70 or 80 members. It's something big where if I think eventually I worked up to 16 and I was still terrified, but imagine 80 members on day one, like in 45. So for you, was that a comfort where you're like, I've never done this before. I'm not a gym owner. Now I am. I have 45 people already signed up and the door's open. That must have felt great.
Oh, it was huge. Yeah, it was huge because we knew exactly how many members we needed to pay the rent. And to be 45 members closer to that number was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were we were paying all our bills within the first 2 months and then making money right after that. So, yeah.
So you just said a couple of things that are super important. You knew how many members you needed to break even. I didn't know that number. And so I'm guessing that you set your prices and thought about your member count, all these things like with a spreadsheet and did some actual calculations. Whereas I just opened gym and said, anybody want to do Fran? Anybody want to do CrossFit? And it was a struggle for me. So you actually went through like spreadsheet, this many members at this many rate pays this many bills and this is profit. Did you do that stuff?
Yeah, so I did that through with our mentor.
Yeah.
Right. So we sit down and we went through the plan and said, okay, this is exactly what you need, and then, once we hit that number, okay, then we set the next goal, okay, the next goal was going to be an income goal because that wasn't what I was expecting. Right.
Yeah.
And so she's like, okay, exactly how many members, how much more PT do you need to sell? What do you need to do for that? And so, having that was extremely valuable.
Oh, is that ever cool? So then you set an income goal. Now talk to me about how this went. Was it like kind of a straight line, then hockey stick up, or was it like the incremental thing across the board? How did that change for you? Like, were there major inflection points or talk to me about the rise?
So as we started getting more members and as we started selling more PT, looking at all of our metrics, we realized that our what is the right word for this? Our recurring income was staying the same. It was staying very steady, or not recurring income. Our recurring expenses was staying the same, staying very steady. And we were making a lot more money, and I was still not paying myself. And I was scared, and she was like, okay, you have to start paying yourself. And so I did a little bit at a time. And then I realized that's during that time after those first few paychecks, I realized, okay, this could be something more, right? This could be something more. And so, it wasn't a hockey stick per se, because we were bringing the money in. I just wasn't paying myself. But then once she was like, okay, you can do this, then that's when I was like, okay, wow, this is This is great.
What did it feel like to get that first check?
It was a little bit emotional, I will say, because I have been a stay-at-home mom for a long time, and being able to contribute back to our family and to make our goals as a family was like a feeling I can't describe for sure.
Is that ever cool? So your mentor says to you, you got to pay yourself. And you're like, I don't think I can. And then you pay yourself. And all of a sudden it's this thing like I'm contributing and it's going up and I can't. And then did that feel like, I'm a real business owner and I'm doing it? Was that a real success moment for you?
Yeah, right. Like, it is, it's hard because she would ask me, she was like, are you surprised? Are you surprised? And I'm like, yes, every single day. Because it wasn't what I started this out to be, right? I started it out, like I said, as a passion project, and it's become something else. And now I see it that the options are limitless. Right now we're looking at, opening a second gym and a third gym and then a fourth gym. And then, we're maybe retiring my husband so he can come on board with us and through this. And so, it is.
So you probably had, go ahead. I cut you off. Pardon me.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that like you had probably the hardest job in the world, which is stay-at-home mom. Like that is a tough job that I couldn't do. But then you said you jump into something completely brand new and you get this first check and you feel like I'm contributing to the family. Now you're talking about retiring your husband. Like that's incredible.
Yeah, it is. Wow. Yeah, it was something that it's still hard. It's still crazy to even think about. The potential is there, but it is. Yeah. It is, and it could happen soon.
So what would you say? There are gym owners out there that are struggling. And I talk to them on the show all the time because I know they were like me years ago, just couldn't see it. I didn't pay myself. I was like you. I didn't pay myself at all. And I was just like, eventually I almost didn't want to run the gym anymore because I wasn't making any money from it. So they're listening. What would you say to them if they're saying, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I'm kind of screwed, but I'd like to earn more money. What's your advice?
Don't give up. For one, and to make sure you have a mentor, because without somebody there to guide you, sometimes I can see where I'd feel like you're just kind of spinning your wheels and not getting anywhere, right? Because being caught up in the day-to-day stuff, it's hard to see the bigger picture. And sometimes it took excuse me, my mentor would be like, all right, let's lay it all out. Help you talk through this, help you see the light at the end of the tunnel. Whereas without that, like I said, I can see how it would feel like you're almost drowning and you don't know how to call yourself out. So having that mentor, though, was key to our success, 100%.
Mm-hmm. I saw online someone talking about mentorship and saying it's a cost. And it is, right? But we provide ourselves to generating ROI for business owners. Talk to me about what made you make the decision. So you're sitting there, you're leasing stuff, you're buying equipment, you're doing all these different things to open a business, and you've never had this entrepreneurial experience. Was it hard to pull the trigger on mentorship, and what made you do it?
It was hard because, like I said, in the beginning, I was a stay-at-home mom. And so when I decided to do this, I didn't have any income coming in. And so you're like looking at the expensive mentorship and you're thinking, okay, is this going to be worth it? How am I going to pay for it? What am I going to do? And I mean, I put it on a credit card and said, okay, we're just going to pull the trigger and make it happen because I knew that I needed the guidance. I knew that I needed someone to help me and that if I could get the doors open and we could, get some money flowing, then we could pay back that credit card bill. And we had. tenfold. So it's just, it's like it, but it was a very scary step because you're like, I don't feel like I have the money to do this, but without that, we would be nowhere where we are today.
Why did you pick Two Brain? Because there's lots of companies. Why did you pick Two Brain? And when did you know that it was the right choice?
So I did some online research as far as mentorship companies go. And just from what I saw online, Two Brain seems like they had the most comprehensive approach to the mentorship. And then I also liked that there was different levels of mentorship. So, not that I was thinking I would be where I am this far, this fast, but I was like, okay, down the road, when I'm ready to do other things, then, there's somebody that I can stick with.
Yeah.
And I was looking for a mentor that could help me not only just build a gym, but build a business, and they seemed like Two Brain seemed like it had everything that I needed. And then we did the first initial phone call with Two Brain, and it just felt very comfortable. It felt like I was talking to a friend, right? It didn't feel like somebody who was trying to be super salesy or convince me that, they were the best ones for the job. It was a real down to earth conversation about what mentorship was and, why Two Brain could help me be successful. And they just made me feel very comfortable.
That's good to hear, because that's the whole goal, is to help first. The book that I've got behind me this side,
Right.
Chris Cooper, Help First, trying to help people. It's not necessarily selling. This is the same principle at our level and also at the gym level, where you're trying to help clients, and to help them, you offer them their service, and you're offering them fitness. We're offering ROI for gym owners, which you've obviously got, which I think is so cool. I'm going to ask you as we close out here, you mentioned a few things. You're talking about maybe scaling up to like 3 or 4 different businesses and saying to your husband, hey, you don't have to go to work anymore. Is there any other plans that you've got going on, or are those the big ones? Obviously, those are huge.
So right now, those are huge. In the beginning, just 6 months ago, our plan to open a second gym was probably going to be in a couple of years. But recently, we've kind of taken another look at that and decided that within the next 6 months, I'd like to have the second location picked out, and then open within a year, and then open 1 gym a year going forward for the next 4 years.
That's incredible. So Chris Cooper has always said that the average time regardless of starting point, the average time to get to 100K in net owner benefit for a gym owner with mentorship is 25 months. But he's often said, whenever he says that, he says there are some people who've done it much faster. And I was wondering who those people were, because I often, I don't talk to everybody. Now here you are. That's you.
Yeah.
How cool is that? You're the person that's messing up the average, or not messing up the average, but taking the average down. That's incredible. And there's more like that. So listeners, if you're listening and you're feeling crappy out there about anything, know that regardless of starting point, 0, wherever you're at, Two Brain can get you to 100K net owner benefit in about 25 months. And that's the average. Some people do it much faster. If they do, like Natalie did, you take the advice of the mentor, you do the work, you knock things off, and you keep pushing forward, you can shave a lot of time off that. And all of a sudden, you're thinking about retiring your partner, opening a multi-gym empire, and having a great time. I love it. So Natalie, thanks so much for sharing your story. That's such a good one. We'll have you back. I might see you on the leaderboard at some point. We'll have you back and we'll talk about that too.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. That was Natalie Winslow. I'm Mike Warkentin. This is Run a Profitable Gym. If you want to hear more about the stuff that we talked about today, book a call. That link is in the show notes.